Good morning and welcome to the regular meeting of City Council for Tuesday, October 10th, 2023. Will the clerk please take the roll call?
Reverend Burgess?
Here.
Mr. Coghill?
Here.
Ms. Gross? Mr. Kraus?
Here.
Mr. Lavelle?
Here.
Mrs. Strasburger?
Here.
Mrs. Warwick? Mr. Wilson? Mrs. Cale Smith, President?
Here.
6 members present.
Thank you. Our next order of business, is please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence. And I ask that you keep the people in the Middle East and in the conflict with Israel in your thoughts. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice
for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Our next order of business is to amend the agenda. Is there a motion to amend the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Agenda is amended. Our next order of business is proclamations, and we have one from Councilman Kraus to be presented. Councilman Kraus?
Yeah, thank you. Good morning, welcome.
Oh, which one are you presenting, Council?
I'm doing the National Manufacturing Day.
Okay, we'll be in just 1 minute, yeah.
Okay, up.
He has 2, yeah.
You're out of order. Come up, please. You're presenting, right? Yeah, I thought so. Good morning, welcome. Good. How about this side for the camera? We want to have your glowing faces on. Okay, good morning. Nice to meet you. Okay, good, thank you. So whereas National Manufacturing Day is organized nationwide by the Manufacturing Institute in October of each year, and whereas the day, commonly known as MFG Day, is manufacturing's biggest annual opportunity to inspire the next generation, positively shift perceptions about the industry, and build the foundation for the manufacturing workforce of the future. And whereas it empowers manufacturers to come together to convey their relevance in today's ever-changing technology demands and to address their challenges to recruit skilled workers to help their communities and future generations thrive. And whereas Pittsburgh has recently seen major growth in innovation sectors like robotics and autonomy and advanced manufacturing, and whereas amid record-growing job openings in manufacturing, the collective efforts of New Century Careers, their 130-plus partner companies, and workforce development groups are focusing on the advantages of these career paths. And whereas the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics reports average wages in excess of $49,000 for positions like metal workers, and whereas local resources and training is available to better prepare a diverse and inclusive array of candidates to adapt to the technology of the advanced manufacturing workplace. And whereas for every $1 spent in manufacturing, another $2.60 is added to the overall economy for the benefit of all. So now therefore be it resolved that this council of the city of Pittsburgh does hereby declare today, Tuesday, October 10th, 2023 to be Manufacturing Day here in the city of Pittsburgh.
Have a motion to approve in a second?
Oh, motion to approve. Thank you.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye, there you go, thank you.
Well, thanks, Bruce.
Well, good morning, and thank you for having us. My name is Neil Ashbaugh. I'm the president and CEO of New Century Careers. With me today is my office manager, Tanika Harris, and my lead instructor supervisor, John Alexander. We provide tuition-free training and job placement assistance for residents from a 10-county region, including the metro area of Pittsburgh. and we're very honored to have City Council join us in celebrating Manufacturing Day and in letting people know that there is a place for them within an industry that has high-paying and family-sustaining wages. So on behalf of New Century Careers and all the manufacturers of southwestern PA, we thank you for this proclamation. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Here's your moment in the sun. Would you like to say a few words? Come on. You never know when you get to city council like that, right?
Yes. Well, we just want to thank you for this proclamation. We've been doing what we do for over 20 years, and we just really appreciate the recognition.
That's great. Come on.
All right, on behalf of New Century Careers, I want to thank the city for the proclamation. Manufacturing has been great in my life. It changed my life, and I'm happy to be helping forge the path for the next generation.
Councilman?
Yes.
Just quickly, I just wanted to say that I stopped by the Mill 19 Manufacturing Day, and really, it's fantastic. I mean, the turnout of kids was incredible. There were so many just really cool stations to come and check things out. There were schools. It was really a great event. So thank you. Yeah.
Do we have all members? Madam President, would you join us? Are you good?
Yeah.
Hold on to me. Okay.
Tom said that Tom wasn't like that.
Okay. You good? Pleasure.
I don't know who's presenting and who's reading, so.
Okay, thank you. And a proclamation for, I have Strasburg or Kraus. Is that both of you together? Okay.
Welcome to the representatives here today from the Three Rivers Business Alliance for National Coming Out Day. Whereas National Coming Out Day, first celebrated in the U.S. in 1988, is celebrated across the country on October 11th, and whereas Dr. Robert E. Eichberg and Jean O'Leary chose October 11, 1988 as National Coming Out Day, as it marked the one-year anniversary of the 1987 National March on Washington for Lesbian and Gay Rights. And whereas National Coming Out Day celebrates the strength and courage that members of the LGBTQIA+ community exhibit by being their authentic selves, even in the face of discrimination. And whereas National Coming Out Day promotes awareness, acceptance, and empathy to let people know who we are and disabuse them of their fears and stereotypes. And whereas the Three Rivers Business Alliance, 3RBA, a nonprofit organization serving the LGBTQIA+ community as the Pittsburgh LGBTQIA+ Chamber of Commerce, and whereas the Three Rivers Business Alliance is an affiliate of the National LGBT Chamber of Commerce, and whereas the Three Rivers Business Alliance works to support and empower LGBTQIA+ business owners and their allies in the Pittsburgh and Greater Allegheny region. And whereas the Three Rivers Business Alliance is committed to using education, advocacy, diversity, leadership, and partnerships to uplift and support the economic interest of the LGBTQIA+ community of the Pittsburgh area. And whereas the Three Rivers Business Alliance is dedicated to diversifying the Pittsburgh Greater Allegheny region's business community. Whereas the Three Rivers Business Alliance is celebrating business owners at the Out Work Luncheon on October 11th, 2023, and whereas this event focuses on uplifting and supporting the journeys of all employees and strengthening diversity and inclusion efforts throughout the city. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the City of Pittsburgh does hereby recognize and honor and value the work of the Three Rivers Business Alliance and the work they do to support LGBTQIA+ business owners and their allies within and beyond the borders of Pittsburgh and to the greater Pittsburgh community. Be it further resolved that the Council of the City of Pittsburgh does hereby declare October 11, 2023 to be Coming Out Day in the City of Pittsburgh.
Have a motion to approve in a second?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Proclamation's approved. Thank you. Thank you.
Councilman Kraus, would you like to say a few words? Okay, congratulations. Thank you. Please come up and say a few words.
Hi, I'm Michael Testa. I'm the Senior Vice President of the Three Rivers Business Alliance, and we want to thank the city for this proclamation. I don't think I could have written this any better than it was written here in the way Councilperson Strasburger has described the organization. I want to thank Councilperson Strasburger and Councilperson Kraus. I know him very well, just like at the head. But thank you all very much for being here. The work of Three Rivers Business Alliance is indescribable these days because the state of Pennsylvania right now does not have non-discrimination. And that's one of the things that we need to work on in the state, along with supporting small business, LGBT business enterprises, being that we are a certification body to certify organizations, businesses to be an LGBT-owned business. I'm on the certification committee for that, so I was the first certified business in the city of Pittsburgh to become certified as an LGBT BE. So I want to, again, thank the city, thank you for your support, and tomorrow we have a really great event at the Mansions. If any of you would like to attend, please do. And I also want to introduce our I'm really having a hard time. Our person, our executive director, Cindy Oliver, if you'd like to say a few words. Thank you very much.
So I did tell Mike I didn't want to say a few words. But I do want to thank you and appreciate what you're doing to support the LGBTQ community, and National Coming Out Day is so important for everyone who is coming out in the workplace and everyone to be aware of what we can do to support and feel included with our colleagues. And Mike had made reference to the LGBTBE certification, which is a minority-owned business certification that allows us to certify our businesses to get preferred vendor opportunities and procurement opportunities with corporations and the city. And I just want to acknowledge Councilperson Strasburger for sponsoring that, and that legislation when it passed a couple years in conjunction with 3RBA. And actually Pittsburgh was the first city in the state of Pennsylvania to enact legislations that included LGBTBE in the minority business classification. So thank you for that, and thank you for your continued support.
So I've had the good luck and the honor and the privilege to have come out of a very welcoming and accepting background as far as my family and my employment situation. So I came out in 1972, which is 41 years ago. And I remember having a conversation with Bob Charlin the other day and talking about just the state of affairs of the world today, and saying to him that, you know, I had experienced firsthand assassinations of John Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy, Martin Luther King, the Equal Rights Amendment, women's liberation movements, the ERA, the civil rights movements, the gay liberation, the Vietnam War. I mean, these are all experiences that I had firsthand in my youth, and it shaped very much who I am and my politics and how I view and see the world. And yet at this time, I said to Bob, I don't think I've ever felt so unsettled in the world and the state of affairs in the world and what we're experiencing like this past weekend. And the ever-increasing attacks on our community, vicious, violent attacks on the community, and the polarization of the politics of the moment today around my community, and how those in positions of power wish to use and manipulate us for their political gain. It's a very dangerous time, as I see it today. And I say all this to say that I don't know that it's ever been a more important time to say who we are and what we bring to the world, what our contributions are, and just how, in the words of Harvey Milk, come out, come out, come out. When we come out, people see, hopefully, who we are and what we contribute to humanity and to the world at large. And that is what breaks down, that's what dissolves the lies that some would like to tell about our community and breaks down the walls and the stereotypes that people wish to box us in with. And by coming out and saying, no, this is who we really are. That is where we find our power, and that is where we find our victory. So, yeah, with that, please, anyone who has not and wishes to make the statement, we welcome you to participate in National Coming Out Day and to come out. So thank you for the opportunity to speak. Appreciate it. Yep, you want to come up? Come on. These people are crazy. Are you presenting your poem?
Yeah.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm going to do it up here.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you. And our last presented proc, but not least, Val. Do you want to come up, Val Lowe? Every year in October, I try to recognize Domestic Violence Month and Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And there's been a person that I've been talking to for a long time. Come up here, Val. You can just come up with me. For a long time. And she does just amazing work in our community. Very quiet, but man, is she a powerhouse. She does a lot with, you hear a lot of people gardening and a lot of people doing different things with gardening. Well, Val does it somewhat as a relief, something to help her as a domestic violence survivor. And she's not only a survivor, she's thriving, she's doing amazing, and she's an inspiration to a lot of women, including myself. So I just want to thank her for all that she does. And finally, I got her here for a proclamation. Let me tell you the things she does. You'll hear some of those things. We can't even capture it all in a proclamation because she's just an amazing person and a great human being. So, Rachel. Whereas Valerie Lowe grew up in a loving home with two devout, God-fearing parents and two siblings. She resided in Long Island, New York, and left a 17-year corporate career to marry the man she believed the love of her life. During her 13-year marriage, she was deprived of financial security, subjected to mental abuse, and left homeless while caring for two young children. And whereas, through the grace of God, Miss Lowe has emerged as a steadfast champion for women still ensnared by the shadows of their abusive past. In the past 10 years, Valerie has dedicated herself to domestic violence advocacy, and whereas she helped prepare women in a shelter for reentry into the workforce, was the head of a drop-in center for children of domestic violence and homelessness. She initiated a ministry program and volunteer advocacy for survivors and elderly victims of abuse. And in 2020, she launched an online 90-day program which was highly successful in helping women attain lasting transformation. And whereas in her continued commitment to this cause, Ms. Lowe is organizing an event in Mount Washington on October 12th in recognition of Domestic Violence Awareness Month. This event marks the launch of an ongoing support and coaching program designed to empower women to break free from the chains of abuse. And whereas Ms. Lowe currently resides in Mount Washington, where she volunteered with the Mount Washington CDC's Beautification Project, initiated the community garden, serves on the board for St. Justin Plaza Senior Apartments, and the Mount Washington Recreation Center for Youth, where she helped to create a nurturing environment for school-aged children. And now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the City of Pittsburgh does hereby commend Valerie Lowe for the selfless work that she does to support women who have survived domestic violence. And be it further resolved that the Council of the City of Pittsburgh does hereby declare Tuesday, October 10th, 2023 to be Valerie Lowe Day in the City of Pittsburgh. Can I have a motion to approve in a second?
Motion to approve.
In a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Proclamation's approved. Amazing. Here, say a few words. Say a few words.
Wow. Well, first and foremost, I give all honor and glory to God, to my Heavenly Father, Jesus, and Holy Spirit. If it weren't for them, I would not be here today. And I also have to say hi to my mom and dad and to my son, Nathaniel. I know that they are here sharing this moment with me. I am honored and humbled by this proclamation given to me by the City of Pittsburgh. I especially am very honored to be a part of, just be a part of the movement to free women from the chains of abuse, not just during, but after. You know, sometimes you go through difficult things like that, physical, mental, emotional, and you don't realize that it's so bad until you leave. And you immediately have a rush of relief and joy, but then it's the winding down, realizing how much of your inner being was torn, and it takes years to overcome. So I feel very passionate about this, and I am so grateful to Council President Cale Smith for her tireless work in this city of Pittsburgh, and particularly for opening the door for me to get the training and to get the help that I need many years ago. So I will be forever grateful for her kindness and for her dedication also to helping with domestic violence. And so I'm looking forward to this event that we're having on the 12th. I didn't bring any flyers because I had no idea. This is my first time, and I'm glad people went before me so I could kind of understand what I'm supposed to do. But I'm very grateful for this opportunity, and it is my plan to also have sessions, I would say meetings with women once a month perhaps, and just gather women together, and we talk about these things, we talk about the issues of life and how to better prepare ourselves to serve our community and to have the joy and commitment to making our world a better place, despite what happened to us. So grateful for this opportunity and this proclamation, and thank you all for being here.
We're gonna get a photo. Everyone want to come up for the photo, and I will say City Council is providing some resources to her efforts, and so it'd be a good thing to share across the city. You want to all come up? Thank you. And you get to hold this. You need to stand over here. And we have a proc to be read into the record for Councilwoman Warwick.
Councilman Warwick presents, "Now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the City of Pittsburgh does hereby recognize Industrial Arts Workshop 2023 Summer Welding Boot Camp students' dedication and commitments to developing their skills and creating vibrant artwork for the Hazelwood community. And be it further resolved that the Council of the City of Pittsburgh does hereby declare Friday, October 13th, 2023 to be Industrial Arts Workshop Student Artist Day in the City of Pittsburgh."
Have a motion to approve in a second?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Proclamation's approved. Thank you. And our next order of business is public comment. I would like to remind everyone that the rules of council state that comments are limited to matters that concern official action or deliberation which are or may be before city council. Profanity and threats will not be permitted. When you are called to speak, please state your name and neighborhood for the record. You will have 3 minutes to speak. And our first registered speaker is Naomi Mullen. Naomi Mullen? She online? She's online. Naomi?
Here. Shady trees, not shady deals in Bon Air. First, do no harm is not just a rule of medicine. Government shall not harm the people or can be held accountable. Blockbusting and infliction of emotional distress has occurred against Bon Air. Those who oppose the property owners of Bon Air do so at their own peril. Politicians and municipal employees are public servants. My husband was a dedicated model employee that should be emulated by others. The WHO is the World Health Organization that is funded primarily from commercial income sources. The Gates Foundation invests in immunizations and profits greatly from that. The CDC is funded by the Gates Foundation as well. The FDA is funded greatly by Big Pharma. How can there not be a conflict of interest? Through thewho.com. StopTheWho.com. This is just an allegory. Once upon a time, there was a neighborhood named Bon Oliver, which decided to change their legal designation to a county. They elected their own representatives who did the will of their constituents. They understood they were public servants, not rulers of the people. They decided to pay only for cyber school and withdraw from using the Pittsburgh public schools as provider of their children's education. They contracted their own services so that they could be free of public tyrants and exorbitant taxes. Imagine that. No more detrimental buildings to threaten the peace, safety, and happiness of we the people. I am coming out with pride regarding my neighborhood, Bon Air. Shady trees, not shady deals in Bon Air. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next registered speaker is Dr. Ronald Lynn Miller. Dr. Miller?
Dr. Ronald Lynn Miller, Bill Suver, Global Intelligence Society, U.S. National Candidate for President 2024, Global Intelligence Society.org. A concern of this council is the sex-gender injustice, perceived injustice, female XX-male XXXY tension that requires, according to them, remediation via the Pittsburgh Gender Equity Commission, GEC, which is similar to city GECs across the United States. Boston is a marvelous exception to this. An anti-equity alternative is the Sex Gender Equality Nationwide Nexus, which I founded in 2023. The analysis that I'm going to offer has to do with a format that we use in Global Intelligence in my book, Global Intelligence, 2015, and revised in 2023 at level 3. The females across the United States repulse males controlling as a pattern through physical force, Hulk-like, taking charge of them, assuming that they know what a woman is or should be. This is coercive, telling them what the males resist females controlling predominantly via verbal forms, Harridan-like, telling them what a man is, often in cryptic mode. How many of us as males get an answer from a female which begins with yes and ends with a no, with A and also with not A? Female genetically XX chromosome pair grounded information gain and intelligence growth is more usually conjunctive, P inverted, V Q, both and inclusive, stressing, cooperation, fusion, we, due partly to global neural intercerebral sharing across the corpus callosum, which is similar to quantum computation entanglement, but males, genetically XY, Chrome 23 pair anchoring information acquisition and intelligence acumen is more disjunctive, usually PVQ, either or exclusive, a stress on competition, fission, GOAT, greatest of them all, that sort of thing. Anti-abortion females both approve of the right of an individual to exist regardless of the government and approve of non-individual government intervention to stop abortion. Pro-abortion females both approve of the right of an individual female to control her body without government intervention and approve of non-individual government protection to save abortion choice. Anti- and pro-abortion females across the United States sense no contradiction in their polarized approvals.
Your time's
but see
expired.
this
Thank you.
as fine. It is not fine.
Your time's expired. Sergeant Arms. Thank you. And that exhausts our list of registered speakers. Is there anyone else wishing to address City Council?
Freedom of speech. What a shame.
Me next.
Hey, ready?
Yes.
Greetings and good day. My title is Ikahana Haumakina. I'm the Grand Inca of the Iroquois Confederacy of Aboriginal American People. And I would like to thank Barbara Warwick for finally putting Indigenous people on City Council's agenda. But I must say, you still have fallen short. No one has reached out to us to include our nation state in that conversation. We constantly are speaking on City Council, asking for acknowledgement. And when there is a discussion about Indigenous people, you all have our phone number. I call down here on a regular basis. So you've fallen short in including us again in that conversation. We'd like for this to be our coming out party. Our identity is not up for debate, for we have the freedom of expression. We won't be silenced and we won't be ignored. I am who my ancestors are, an Indigenous woman. We are the most marginalized people in America, and just think, this is our land. So tell me, where will we find support for us in our culture, the freedom to express our culture? You see, the problem that LGBTQ folks are having is only because they find it difficult to have acceptance, to exist at times, because some people don't accept them for who they are. Well, I stand before you, having not had to make a decision as to who I am. That was decided for me when my grandmother and her grandmother and her mother gave life to my mother. I'm part of that lineage, that lineal line. I didn't get to decide who I am. But yet, the suppression of who we are, us as a people, is constantly at our face, at our door. We don't get to our freedoms. We don't get the support that LGBTQ gets, but yet we're the most marginalized people in a land known to be ours since time immemorial. According to Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3 of the Constitution, states, and excluding Indians not taxed. Now, taxed, I've presented to you all numerous times, doesn't mean to be taxed on your ledgers and boards. It means to be handled, to be enumerated, to be censured. And we're asking not to be molested in our own home. Invite us to the conversation, invite us to the table, especially where Indigenous people are concerned. You all have our legislation in your emails. Please do take a look at them. We would love to schedule meetings for one-on-ones for a better understanding, because we understand that you don't truly understand all the laws that govern the United States, especially the Constitution. Again, Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3, Indians not taxed. Thank you.
Thank you. And are there any further speakers wishing to address City Council? Are there any further speakers wishing to address City Council? Seeing none, we'll now move on to our next order of business. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you, Carmela.
I'm sorry. My name's Carmela Mullen, and I'm here to talk about the replacement of Columbus Day with Indigenous Day. I would like to read some things, and hopefully you got a letter from the National President of the ISDA of America. He sent it to all of you via email. In 1891, the largest mass lynching in our country's history occurred in the city of New Orleans when a mob of over 5,000 people beat, mutilated, and hung 11 Italian immigrants for allegedly shooting a city's police chief. 9 of these immigrants were tried, and none of them had been found guilty. Despite the court's finding, all were returned to jail where they were held and lynched, and they assembled to storm the jail. There's deep bigotry in Americans harbored toward the Italian immigrants was clearly manifested in New York Times. In addition to this, in 1892, to rectify what happened to the Italian immigrants, President Benjamin Harrison made Columbus Day in 1892 to celebrate the Italian heritage. That's who they chose to celebrate and do that. So I just want to give, in each one of your mailboxes is fake and real facts of Columbus. And here's some of them here. It says, the Indians lived in peace and harmony, ruined by Columbus and his fellow Europeans. History tells us otherwise. War, slavery, cannibalism, and sexual immorality were common practices among the Indians, as Spanish would later find out. Human sacrifice and infanticide were the norm among the other Indians.
Sergeant,
I didn't interrupt you.
Sergeant Arms.
On a personal note, my family are immigrants from Italy. They came over the proper way. They sacrificed my grandmother's only son. He served in World War II, and he was killed in action. In addition to that, Italians were interred in camps. Their possessions were confiscated. They lost their jobs. And one of the most famous ones who was interred in a prison camp was Joe DiMaggio's father during World War II, because of Mussolini and the Italian involvement in World War II. So we have been discriminated against, and this is our day to celebrate our heritage. And there's 364 more days that the indigenous states can choose to celebrate. So why try to erase our history with trying to place it with indigenous state? We are not against any ethnic or nationality wanting to celebrate a day. We are not. We are all inclusive as Americans. But don't take our day away where we celebrate our pride of our Italian heritage and replace it with another person's day or another group's day. There's other days to choose. We would like to have a hearing, if this is possible, to discuss. And I appreciate
your time's
you table
expired.
this. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And you have a whole year to decide.
Your time's expired. Are there any further speakers wishing to address City Council? Any further speakers wishing to address City Council? Seeing none, We'll now move on to our next order of business, which will be presentation of papers. We'll start with Councilman Burgess. Councilman Burgess, thank you so much for chairing all the meetings while I was out.
No problem. No new papers, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Coghill, Chair of Public Safety and Wellness.
No new papers, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Gross, Chair of Intergovernmental and Educational Affairs.
Madam President.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Councilwoman Gross presents Bill 2012, Resolution Adopting Plan Revision of the City of Pittsburgh's Official Sewage Facilities Plan for 4608 and 4644 Forbes Avenue, Pittsburgh, PA 15213, at no cost to the city. Bill 2013, Resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of the Department of Finance and/or the director of the Department of Public Works to enter into a leases, sublease, and/or leases for subleases for approximately 8,000 square feet from the lessor, the Housing Authority of the City of Pittsburgh, for the purpose of continuing to provide office space for city employees located within the City of Pittsburgh's First Ward at 100 Ross Street, 15219, lot number 2J244, effective on or about September 1st, 2023, with a 6-month period, and providing for the payment thereof in an amount not to exceed $86,250. Bill 2014, Resolution authorizing a cooperation agreement or agreements with the Urban Redevelopment Authority of Pittsburgh in connection with the URA's application for a Redevelopment Assistance Capital Program grant for the Brighton Heights Healthy Active Living Center in the amount of $2,229,987 and authorizing expenditures for this stated purpose. In Bill 2015, Resolution authorizing a cooperation agreement or agreements with the Urban Redevelopment Authority of Pittsburgh in connection with the URA's application for a Redevelopment Assistance Capital Program grant for the renovation of Sheridan Park in the amount of $1,083,467 and authorizing expenditures for this stated purpose.
Thank you. And Councilman Kraus, Chair of Public Works and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Bruce Kraus presents Bill 2016, Resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of the Department of Public Works to enter into a professional services agreement with Western Pennsylvania Conservancy in an amount not to exceed $200,000 to support the city's equitable street tree plan over the course of up to 3 years. Bill 2017, Resolution providing for the issuance of a warrant in favor of Peoples Natural Gas Company in the amount of $24,947.02 in payment for non-contracted work on the Homewood Park reconstruction project. Bill 2018, Resolution providing for an agreement or agreements with SAI Consulting Engineers, Inc. for costs associated with the preliminary engineering phase for the Safe Routes to School project, providing for the payment of the cost thereof, not to exceed $116,472.86, reimbursable at 100%. Bill 2019, Resolution providing for an amended reimbursement agreement or agreements with the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation for costs associated with the construction phase of the Pittsburgh Pedestrian Wayfinding Project, providing for the payment of the cost thereof, not to exceed $2 million, an increase of $500,000 from the previously executed agreement. This resolution serves to authorize only the amended reimbursement agreement or agreements at no cost to the City of Pittsburgh. Future resolutions will authorize the project-specific service agreements. In Bill 2020, Resolution providing for an amended reimbursement agreement or agreements with the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation for costs associated with the construction phase of the critical sidewalk gaps project, providing for the payment of the cost thereof, not to exceed $1,485,000, an increase of $505,000 from the previously executed agreement. This resolution serves to authorize only the amended reimbursement agreement or agreements at no cost to the City of Pittsburgh. Future resolutions will authorize the project-specific service agreements.
Madam President, Madam Clerk, I
Yes.
have a request, please, from the administration, if we could please waive the rules on Bill 2017 so that it may appear on tomorrow's Standing Committee agenda.
Second.
We have a motion, second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Bill will appear on tomorrow's Standing Committee's agenda.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Councilman. And Councilman Lavelle, Chair of Finance and Law. Thank you, Councilman.
Councilman R. Daniel Lavelle presents Bill 2021, Resolution amending Resolution 108 of 2023, effective March 1st, 2023, which amended Resolution 458 of 2022, effective September 7th, 2022, authorizing the mayor and the city solicitor to enter into a professional services agreement with Fisher Phillips LLP for legal services in connection with the collective bargaining by further authorizing an amendment or amendments to said professional services agreement at no additional cost to the city. Bill 2022, resolution authorizing the issuance of a warrant in favor of plaintiff James Frierson, administrator of the estate of Jim Rogers, decedent, and his counsel of record, Todd J. Hollis, at a cost not to exceed $8 million over 2 years relating to the full and final settlement of litigation, including attorney's fees and costs filed in the U.S. District Court for the Western District of Pennsylvania. Bill 2023, resolution authorizing the issuance of a warrant in favor of Bennett Amalu Pathology for expert fees in connection with labor arbitration matters for an amount not to exceed $10,000 over 1 year. Bill 2024, resolution further amending Resolution Number 863 of 2018, effective January 1st, 2019, as amended, entitled, Resolution adopting and approving the 2019 capital budget and the 2019 Community Development Block Grant Program and the 2019 through 2024 Capital Improvement Program by reducing design, construction, and inspection services by $46,000 and increasing complete streets by $46,000. Bill 2025, resolution further amending Resolution Number 647 of 2020, effective December 23rd, 2020, as amended, entitled, Resolution adopting and approving the 2021 capital budget and the 2021 Community Development Block Grant Program and the 2021 through 2026 Capital Improvement Program by reducing facility improvements, sports facilities by $200,000 and increasing complete streets by $200,000. Bill 2026, resolution further amending Resolution Number 723 of 2022, effective December 27th, 2022, as amended, entitled, Resolution adopting and approving the 2023 capital budget, the 2023 Community Development Program, and the 2023 through 2028 Capital Improvement Program by decreasing ramp and public sidewalk by $75,000 and increasing complete streets by $75,000. Ramp and public sidewalk is further increased by $505,000, and signage and wayfinding increased by $500,000 to account for additional Federal Highway Administration funding being received at no cost to the City of Pittsburgh. And Bill 2027, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of the Office of Management and Budget to enter into an agreement or agreements with Rinse LLC for services relating to the washing of city vehicles. Expenditures for the purchases shall be limited to authorized annual budgeted amounts by each city using department. The cost of each car wash has been pre-negotiated over the course of the agreement's 3-term year. Costs for these services will vary based on individual departmental need.
Thank you. I'm sorry, just reading some notes from our solicitor. And Councilwoman Strasburger, Chair of Recreation, Youth, and Senior Services.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Erica Strasburger presents Bill 2028, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of Parks and Recreation to enter into a sponsorship agreement with Duolingo in support of the Community Concert Series from which the city will receive a fee in the amount of $7,500. And Bill 2038, an ordinance amending City Code Title VI Conduct, Article 5 Discrimination, Chapter 651 Findings and Policy, and Chapter 659 Unlawful Practices by adding enhanced housing protections for survivors of domestic violence.
Thank you. And Councilwoman Warwick, Chair of Innovation, Performance, Asset Management, and Technology. Thank you, Councilwoman. And Councilman Wilson, Chair of Land Use and Economic Development.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilman.
Councilman Bobby Wilson presents Bill 2029, Resolution further amending Resolution Number 723 of 2022, effective December 27th, 2022, as amended, entitled Resolution adopting and approving the 2023 capital budget and the 2023 community development program and the 2023 through 2028 capital improvement program by increasing personnel community development block grant program by $97,804, increasing emergency solutions grant by $7,044, increasing housing opportunities for persons with AIDS by $260,014, and increasing home investment partnerships program by $257,679. These changes are made in response to program allocations by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development and come out at no cost to the City of Pittsburgh. Bill 2030, Resolution providing for an agreement or agreements with the Jewish Healthcare Foundation to provide administration and operating expenses, housing, and housing-related supportive services to persons with HIV/AIDS and their families at a total cost not to exceed $1,410,014. Bill 2031, Resolution further amending Resolution Number 723 of 2022, effective December 27th, 2022, as amended, entitled Resolution adopting and approving the 2023 capital budget, the 2023 community development program, and the 2023 through 2028 capital improvement program, so as to grant $100,000 to specific public service grant projects of the Mayor's Office and authorize a subsequent agreement or agreements. Bill 2032, Resolution authorizing the Mayor and the Director of the Office of Management and Budget to enter into an agreement or agreements with agencies to provide emergency shelter services, street outreach services, rental assistance, and housing relocation and stabilization services, and/or data collection activities as associated with the 2023 Emergency Solutions Grant funds at a cost not to exceed $1,207,044. And Bill 2033, Resolution authorizing the Mayor and the Director of the Office of Management and Budget to enter into an agreement or agreements with Urban Design Ventures, LLC, for services relating to the program design and application development of the city's home ARP application for a sum not to exceed $28,600 over 3 years for the payment of the costs thereof.
Thank you. And myself, Chair of Hearings and Policy, I have 2 appointments, 2 communications. Let's take the appointments first, please. Thank you.
Councilwoman Teresa Kell Smith presents Bill 2034, Resolution appointing Philip Wu as a member of the Planning Commission with a term to expire October 1st, 2029. And Bill 2035, Resolution appointing Michelle Miller-Beener as a member of the Commission on Infrastructure, Asset Reporting, and Investment with a term to expire September 15th, 2027.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to interview?
Yes, please. Motion to interview, Madam President.
Motion, a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We'll hold the appointments for interview. Thank you, Madam Clerk. And the 2 communications.
Bill 2036, communication from Sally Stadelman, Manager, Pittsburgh Land Bank, submitting activity reports and audits for the years ended December 31st, 2021 and December 31st, 2022. And Bill 2037, Communication from Jake Pollock, Director of the Office of Management and Budget, submitting acting pay requests on behalf of the Department of Public Works for Robert Sapp per the acting pay policy revised in June 2018.
Motion to read, receive, and file, please.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
A second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And now we'll move on to our unfinished business, and we'll need a motion to approve, Madam Clerk.
Bill 1897, resolution appointing Gregory Codler as a member of the Citizen Police Review Board with a term to expire October 31st, 2027.
Motion to approve, please.
Second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? I would just say I'm happy to see that someone from Crafton Heights is being appointed, and so I want to thank council and the mayor's office for accepting my nominee. I think he'll do a great job. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any objections? Any opposed? Madam Clerk, do we need a roll call, do we? I'll make sure. Okay, thank you. And Greg is approved. And now we'll move on to reports of committee for final action. We'll start with Councilman Lavelle, Committee on Finance and Law. Thank you, Councilman.
Councilman Daniel Lavelle presents Bill 2007, Report of the Committee on Finance and Law for October 4th, 2023, with an affirmative recommendation. Bill 1973, resolution authorizing the issuance of 2 warrants in favor of plaintiff Donald W. Waldorf and his attorneys Drexler Law, LLC, at a cost not to exceed $150,000 over 2 years in full and final settlement of litigation, including attorney's fees and costs, filed in the Allegheny County Court of Common Pleas. Bill 1974, resolution authorizing the issuance of a warrant in favor of Owen M. Sullivan in the amount of $11,592.68 over 1 year, relating to the full and final settlement of charges filed with the EEOC. And Bill 1978, resolution repealing an item in Resolution Number 344 of 2018, effective date June 12, 2018, in order to rescind the sale.
Thank you. You've heard the reading of the title of the bills. Is there any discussion on the bills? Seeing none, the bills are now ready for final action. All in favor of the passage, vote aye when the name is called. Those opposed will vote no. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Reverend Burgess?
Aye.
Mr. Coghill?
Aye.
Ms. Gross?
Aye.
Mr. Kraus?
Aye.
Mr. Lavelle? Mrs. Strasburger?
Aye.
Mrs. Warwick?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mrs. Cale Smith, President?
Aye.
9 ayes.
Thank you. The bills having received the legally required number of votes are finally passed. That moves us on to Councilman Anthony Coghill, Committee on Public Safety and Wellness.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilman.
Councilman Anthony Coghill presents Bill 2008, Report of the Committee on Public Safety and Wellness Services for October 4th, 2023, with an affirmative recommendation. Bill 1956, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of public safety to enter into an agreement or agreements with the Federal Emergency Management Agency for the purpose of receiving and spending grant funds in the amount of $269,954.54, with a local match of $26,995.45 for the purchase of ventilation saws and fans for vehicles.
Thank you. You've heard the reading and the title of the bill. Is there any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, the bill is now ready for final action. All in favor of the passage, vote aye when the name is called. Those opposed will vote no. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Reverend Burgess? Aye. Mr. Coghill?
Aye.
Ms. Gross?
Aye.
Mr. Kraus?
Aye.
Mr. Lavelle?
Aye.
Mrs. Strasburger?
Aye.
Mrs. Warwick?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mrs. Cale Smith, President?
Aye.
9 ayes.
Thank you. The bill having received the legally required number of votes is finally passed. Councilman Bruce Kraus presents Committee on Public Works and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Bruce Kraus presents Bill 2009, Report of the Committee on Public Works and Infrastructure for October 4th, 2023, with an affirmative recommendation. Bill 1966, Resolution authorizing an interdepartmental transfer in the amount of $200,000 from the Bureau of Operations within the Department of Public Works to the Bureau of Facilities within the Department of Public Works. This transfer is necessary to reimburse materials purchased from the Bureau of Facilities that were ultimately used by activities in the Bureau of Operations. Bill 1966, Resolution providing for an agreement or agreements with SAI Consulting Engineers, Inc., for costs associated with the preliminary engineering phase for the Larimer Avenue Bridge, providing for the payment of the cost thereof, not to exceed $1,241,573.73, reimbursable at 95%. Bill 1968, Resolution providing for a supplemental agreement or agreements with KCI Technologies, Inc., for costs associated with the 28th Street Bridge project, providing for the payment of the cost thereof, not to exceed $972,100.93, an increase of $72,100.93 to the amount previously authorized by Resolution 558 of 2020 to add additional funding for preliminary engineering phase of the project. And Bill 1969, Resolution providing for a supplemental agreement or agreements with Wellington Power Corp. For construction services associated with the CBD Signal Phase 3 construction project, providing for payment of the cost thereof, not to exceed $4,107,138.23, an increase of $245,179.88 from the previously executed agreement, as previously authorized by Resolution 203 of 2017, reimbursable at 80%.
Thank you. You've heard the reading and the title of the bills. Is there any discussion on the bills? Seeing none, the bills are ready for final action. All in favor of the passage vote aye when the name is called. Those opposed will vote no. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Reverend Burgess?
Aye.
Mr. Coghill?
Aye.
Ms. Gross?
Aye.
Mr. Kraus?
Aye.
Mr. Lavelle? Mrs. Strasburger?
Aye.
Mrs. Warwick?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mrs. Cale Smith, President?
Aye.
9 ayes.
The bills having received the legally required number of votes are finally passed. And that moves us on to Councilman Reverend Ricky Burgess, Committee on Human Resources.
Madam President.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you.
Councilman Reverend Ricky Burgess presents Bill 2010, Report of the Committee on Human Resources for October 4th, 2023, with an affirmative recommendation. Bill 1955, Resolution providing that the City of Pittsburgh enter into a professional services agreement and/or contracts with Pittsburgh Event Child Care for professional services in connection with on-site child care being provided to City of Pittsburgh employees during the days that school is not in session. Additionally, off-site childcare will be provided for those attending community events sponsored by the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services and providing for payment of the cost thereof, cost not to exceed $45,000. And Bill 2001, Resolution providing for the formal recognition of Indigenous Peoples Day in the City of Pittsburgh as the second Monday of October to honor and appreciate the plight, contributions, culture, survivance, and achievements of the indigenous communities in and around the City of Pittsburgh.
Thank you. You've heard the reading of the title of the bill. Is there any discussion on the bills? Councilman Kraus.
Yes, please. So, Madam President, I've been in this chamber 16 years. This morning, it was the third time someone dropped the F-bomb in council chambers. Miss Ikahana Halkamina has been extended every courtesy in being received by this chamber to speak openly and freely about her views. That does not entitle anyone, regardless of how you may agree or disagree with someone, to verbally assault another speaker who you disagree with by dropping the F-bomb in this chamber. That cost her my vote. I will be voting negative on 2001. And then perhaps, Madam President, you and I will take this offline and discuss what repercussions may be appropriate. But this council, I'm very proud to say, goes out of its way time and time and time again to make everyone welcome. This council prides itself on being welcoming and encouraging equity and diversity, and differing opinion and differing thought and process. And I applaud the councilwoman for bringing this forward. And I know there's been some consternation around the bill, and there's been some dissatisfaction from other constituencies. But still, in all the same, we welcome you. We wish for you to come into this chamber. We hold public comment for a reason, and we welcome your remarks time and time again, day in and day out. And just simply because you happen to disagree with the remarks of another speaker, which many of us do, we still extend the courtesy to listen to them, and the speaker does not deserve to be verbally assaulted with the F-bomb while she walks, Ikahana Haukamina walks out of the chamber. I'll be, again, voting no in 2001.
Thank you, Councilman Conlon.
Thank you, Madam President. First, I want to say how much I support Indigenous Day. There's no people in America that deserve their own day of recognition than the Indigenous people. I firmly believe that. Coming from a large Italian family, we always took a great pride in Columbus Day, not knowing, of course, any misdoings of the man himself. It was just a sense of pride for Italian Americans. Now, last week I asked if this had anything to do with the removal of the statue, and I was satisfied with Ms. Warwick's answer that it does not. So I want to make that clear. This legislation has nothing to do with the fate of the Christopher Columbus statue in Schenley Park. That will be battled out in court, more than likely, and I think tomorrow is, a day of when it's on their agenda. So, after doing some research, I found that Indigenous Day being recognized through other municipalities and states throughout America, I found more and more that it was to replace Columbus Day on a higher percentage. I guess some still recognize both. And I am not ready to vote for something that replaces a national holiday that's been recognized for over 100 years by our federal government, almost 100 years. So I don't believe the intent is to erase Columbus Day here. I think before we go making that decision, we need a robust public conversation. We need public hearings around it. It's very emotionally charged. And it's not just for the Italian community, I will tell you. I've gotten probably 3 calls from my Irish friends last night, asking me not to support. So I don't believe the intent is to eliminate Columbus Day. I don't know that, I will say for sure. But the perception is that. And I think the perception is that way because other cities have followed suit in doing so. And I guess, recognizing it on the same day that we recognize Columbus Day is kind of a telltale sign of that. So I can't vote for this today, not because I don't support the Indigenous people. Again, I firmly believe they deserve their day of recognition. It just seems like there's more underlying causes in this. And, one shouldn't be confused with the other. If we want to have the debate of Columbus Day or the statue, that's for another time, and it's a different subject. So I certainly support Indigenous people. They should have their day. But the perception is that this is to replace Columbus. And if others would like to comment on that, I would like to know for sure this is not to replace. It doesn't change my vote today because the perception is already there, I will tell you. So we can't change that without having a public, robust conversation about it. So I would prefer having a public hearing on this matter. If it's just a matter of Indigenous Day, that's a different subject. So I will be voting no for it today. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Warwick.
Yeah, so, yeah, I've gotten some calls as well. So I do want to address that. You know, why does Indigenous Peoples Day have to be on the second Monday in October, right, on Columbus Day? So, you know, for over 200 years as a nation, we have celebrated the quote, discovery of America on Columbus Day. And we've celebrated that without any regard for what that colonization meant for the indigenous people who were living here at that time. You know, whether or not you choose to acknowledge the personal shortcomings and brutal leadership of Columbus, the man himself, there's no dispute about the fact that his arrival in 1492 marked the beginning of the slave trade and also the consistent and persistent persecution of indigenous peoples in the Americas, you know, that has continued, I mean, honestly, well into the early 1960s. If we can continue to include the kidnapping of children, taking children away from their families and putting them in these horrendous boarding schools. I mean, this is very modern history. So, you know, when we celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day on the second Monday in October, it is by no means intended to dismiss, you know, the incredible historical and cultural contributions of Italian Americans. That is not what it is. And it's also, of course, in no way intended to minimize the, you know, similar persecutions of immigrants in this country, which continue to this day, and which Italian Americans, you know, and Irish Americans and Asian Americans and Latino Americans have experienced and continue to experience. Instead, acknowledging Indigenous Peoples Day on the second Monday in October is intended to serve as a counterbalance to serve, you know, to better understand the complete history of European colonialism and its impacts on Native American communities, as well as Native American resilience and contributions to our society in the United States and our culture, and here in Pittsburgh as well, in the face of generations of genocide, discrimination, and persecution. This council, and with regards to the public hearing, I did, you know, I also read the letter from the Italian Sons and Daughters. With regards to a public hearing, I think we got a taste this morning of what a public hearing would be like. And I think that quite frankly, I do, you know, this council made a commitment to our local Native American groups back in 2014 to do this. The purpose of this now, and in conversation, and as I said before, this whole conversation began around the topic of the Christopher Columbus sculpture and the future of that sculpture. So that's where this started, at least in my office. So, you know, we're following through on that commitment today, and quite frankly, the racist and disparaging commentary about Native American culture that we heard just from one person today in our public hearing. I really don't think that our Native American communities need to sit and listen to more of that. I really don't. So, that's my feelings on it. I'm very grateful to my fellow council members who co-sponsored this bill, and I hope that it passes today, because I think that this is Pittsburgh doing the right thing, and something that that we committed to do and perhaps should have done a long time ago. So, thanks.
Thank you. Any other members? Any other members? So I'm just going to say that I absolutely do support the idea of an Indigenous People Day. I disagree with the way we're doing it. I do think that you are trying to do the right thing, but I do think that we tend to divide people instead of bringing them together, which typically I've brought people together to try to figure out the best way to honor everyone. I never try to tell people how they should celebrate their heritage, and I certainly don't want people telling me how I should celebrate mine. Although I do hear what you're saying about Columbus. Believe me, I hear that there's a lot of things about Columbus, and I'm not ever going to say that those things are not real. I don't know, but we're holding our people today to a standard. You were trying to hold somebody accountable for a standard that happened over 500 years ago to today's standards, and I think if we did that, there'll be a lot of people we don't honor, a lot of people we don't recognize, and a lot of people that we find that we disagree with. We have a park in Mount Washington that was named years ago after a gentleman, and later found out that he was accused of child molestation and all sorts of things. That park still stands. But I'm just there are times when you find different information out that things might change. So I'm going to vote no today. With anything else from any other members?
Madam President, just one more thing. I know this is an emotionally charged subject, and when I came to this council, I came for the city issues that are in front of me. When we dwell into the social issues, it's kind of not what I signed up for. I realize it's part of the job. I realize people want to know where I stand on these things. But I just wanted to make the point, if we're going to go down the road as to past histories of people that are recognized and we have statues for, all you really have to do is look at your money. Every coin you have, every dollar you have, and we'll start with George Washington to Andrew Jackson to Ben Franklin, and there are checkered things in all of their past. So I don't know where it stops, I guess. So again, I fully support the Indigenous Peoples Day. I think that should happen for sure, but not at least at the perception of the expense of Christopher Columbus. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members? With that, I'm just going to say, I also want to say that there is an International Indigenous People Day, and it's August 9th, and we could have done it that day as well, and that would have been, perfectly in line, unless we want to be divisive. So with that said, you've heard the reading of the, yes?
Go to the mic, Rev. I will vote for this and support the bill's sponsor, but I do not know what the votes are. I don't know. But I will just say perhaps the bill's sponsor may want to recommit this and talk to other members of council to see if there's a pathway forward to get you unanimous support. So I'll support it now, but if that is, it's just a thought that you may want to consider. That's all.
Thank you. And I will say that people did ask for a public hearing. Councilwoman, do you want to respond?
Yeah, as I said before, I think what we heard this morning is what we would hear more of in a public hearing, and I just don't think that our Native American community members need to hear more disparaging things about their culture and their history in a public hearing.
Okay. Anything else from other members? Okay. With that said, bills are now ready for final action. All in favor of the vote, passage vote aye when the name is called. Those opposed will vote no. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Reverend Burgess.
Aye.
Mr. Coghill?
No.
On,
Yeah,
yes,
there's more than
on
one.
1955 and then 2001.
Which one is the indigenous?
2001.
Okay, no on 2001, aye on 1955.
Mrs. Gross?
Aye.
Mr. Kraus?
No on 2001, please, and aye on 1955, please.
Mr. Lavelle?
Aye.
Mrs. Strasburger?
Aye.
Mrs. Warwick?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mrs. Cale Smith, President?
Aye. Oh, aye on Bill, I apologize. Aye on Bill 1955 and no on Bill 2001.
On Bill 1955, 9 ayes, 0 noes, and on Bill 2001, 6 ayes, 3 noes.
Thank you. The bills have received the legally required number of votes, are finally passed. And I will say that I will schedule a public hearing for the community so they can have their voice heard. Thank you. And now,
You have to motion for that.
I will.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Madam President,
Councilman.
would you entertain just a small piece of additional comment?
Yes.
The right of the public to come in and speak is sacred. That does not mean I agree with comments that were leveled this morning by any means. But the action to silence someone whom you disagree with in the chamber, I think I believe in my heart of hearts is what's at the center of my discontent this morning. And to do so in a way in which one assaults someone in this chamber because they disagree with their view. So I don't want to leave my remarks hang out there as though somehow I agree with comments that were leveled. But I vehemently disagree with someone using violent rhetoric and attempting to silence someone who came in to offer opinion within the provisions we provide to do so. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilman. And that moves us on to Councilwoman Deborah Gross, Committee on Intergovernmental and Educational Affairs.
Madam President.
We'll move on. Do you need to register an aye vote?
Please.
Councilman.
I'd like to register aye votes for all remaining votes, bills. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you.
I would also like to register aye votes for remaining bills. I will hand my bills in, but I have another appointment.
Thank you, Councilman. Madam Clerk, did you get those first? Thank you.
Good luck.
Councilwoman Deborah L. Gross presents Bill 2011, report of the Committee on Intergovernmental and Educational Affairs for October 4th, 2023, with an affirmative recommendation. Bill 1957, resolution amending Resolution 351 of 2020, which authorized the mayor and the director of the Office of Management and Budget to enter into a memorandum of agreement with the URA, HACP, Pennsylvania State Historic Preservation Office, and 327 NNLC by further authorizing an amendment or amendments to said memorandum at no cost to the city by adding 327 NN Rotunda LLC as a signatory. Bill 1958, resolution approving execution of a contract for disposition by sale of land between the Urban Redevelopment Authority of Pittsburgh and Pittsburgh Housing Development Corporation for the sale of Block 26P, Lot 185 in the 5th Ward of the City of Pittsburgh, 830 Adelaide Street, Council District Number 6, at no cost to the city. Bill 1959, resolution approving execution of a contract for disposition by sale of land between the Urban Redevelopment Authority of Pittsburgh and the Pittsburgh Land Bank for the sale of Block 9M, Lots 273 and 274 in the 3rd Ward of the City of Pittsburgh, Bedford Avenue, Council District Number 6, at no cost to the city. Bill 1960, Resolution approving execution of a contract for disposition by sale of land between the Urban Redevelopment Authority of Pittsburgh and Carnegie Mellon University for the sale of Block 29A, lots 306 and 314, also known as parcels 2A and 9, revised in the Pittsburgh Technology Center Plan of Lots Number 2, in the 4th Ward of the City of Pittsburgh, Technology Drive, Council District Number 6, at no cost to the city. Bill 1961, resolution approving execution of a contract for disposition by sale of land between the Urban Redevelopment Authority of Pittsburgh and the Pittsburgh Land Bank for the sale of Block 56B, Lot 326, in the 15th Ward of the City of Pittsburgh, Hazelwood Avenue, Council District Number 5, at no cost to the city. Bill 1962, resolution approving execution of a contract for disposition by sale of land between the Urban Redevelopment Authority of Pittsburgh and the Pittsburgh Land Bank for the sale of Block 9M, Lot 171, in the 3rd Ward of the City of Pittsburgh, Ledley Street, Council District Number 6, at no cost to the city. Bill 1963, resolution approving execution of a contract for disposition by sale of land between the Urban Redevelopment Authority of Pittsburgh and the Pittsburgh Land Bank for the sale of Block 56P, Lot 72A, in the 15th Ward of the City of Pittsburgh, 5113 Little Street, Council District Number 5, at no cost to the city. Bill 1964, resolution approving execution of a contract for disposition by sale of land between the Urban Redevelopment Authority of Pittsburgh and the Pittsburgh Land Bank for the sale of Block 50G, Lots 49 and 129, in the 10th Ward of the City of Pittsburgh, Rosetta Street and Hillcrest Street, Council District Number 9, at no cost to the city. And Bill 1965, resolution approving execution of a contract for disposition by sale of land between the Urban Redevelopment Authority of Pittsburgh and the Land Bank and the Pittsburgh Land Bank for the sale of Block 9S, Lot 200, in the 3rd Ward of the City of Pittsburgh, 1843 Webster Avenue, Council District Number 6, at no cost to the city.
Thank you. You've heard the reading of the title of the bills. Is there any discussion on the bills? Seeing none, the bills are now ready for final action. All in favor of the passage, vote aye when the name is called. Those opposed will vote no. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Reverend Burgess?
Aye.
Mr. Coghill?
Aye.
Mr. Kraus?
Aye.
Mr. Lavelle? Mrs. Strasburger?
Aye.
Mrs. Warwick? Council President Cale Smith?
Aye.
9 ayes.
Thank you. The bills having received the legally required number of votes are finally passed. That moves us on to motions and resolutions. I have a few announcements. What is it? Oh, one more bill. I'm sorry. What are they called? Small games of chance. Okay, thank you. Can I have those, Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Wilson presents, therefore be resolved that the Council of the City of Pittsburgh hereby recognizes Three Rivers Waterkeeper to be a civic and/or service organization within the context of Pennsylvania's Small Games of Chance Act as amended. And Councilmember Wilson also presents, now therefore be it resolved, the Council of the City of Pittsburgh hereby recognizes USA Ball Hockey Foundation to be a civic and/or service organization within the context of the Pennsylvania Small Games of Chance Act as amended.
Motion to approve, please.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Games of chance are approved. Thank you. And now we'll move on to our motions and resolutions. And we have a few meeting announcements. This afternoon, Council will hold a briefing for members regarding an overview of the Pittsburgh Public Schools Strategic Plan. The first session begins at 1:30 and the second session begins at 2 p.m. Tomorrow, Wednesday, October 11th, Council Standing Committee's meeting is scheduled for 10 a.m. Speaker registration will close at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. To register to speak, and we also have tomorrow, October 11th, Council will begin with our pre-agenda interview at 9:30 a.m., followed by the Standing Committee's meeting at 10 a.m. And tomorrow we have, to register to speak at any of the council meetings, please fill out the sign-up form on the council's meeting webpage or call the clerk's office at 412-255-2138. On Thursday, October 12th, Council will hold an executive session at 11 a.m. as it refers to legal matters. I would also like to call for a public hearing regarding the Indigenous People Day and Columbus Day. Thank you.
I'll second your motion, Madam President.
So, all in favor?
Aye.
We'll have that public hearing. Thank you. And Councilman Kraus, did you have your hand raised first?
No, I have no comment. Thank
Okay,
you,
I'm
Madam
sorry.
President.
Reverend Burgess, I'm sorry.
I just want to still state my sincere disappointment that we as a city do not have a comprehensive approach to educating our children. All the data says that our children right now are at the lowest academic level perhaps in its history. We are still moving in silos and not really as a unified city, creating a comprehensive plan that will combine both the school activities and the out of school time activities in a collaboration, including our rec centers and all available resources to bring these children to grade level. It is something we can do, but unfortunately, in my opinion, the academic success of the children is not the chief goal. The concerns of administration, the concerns of the union, the concerns of who's in charge or who's on first and who's in charge become more important. And year after year, objectively, our children are falling further and further behind. In particular, the opportunity gap for African American kids is abysmal, and almost doing nothing would be better than what we're doing now. And so it is sad to me, and I like to think I've done pretty good at raising some children, and I've done pretty good at teaching some children. I think I know a little bit about what it takes to educate children. And the truth is the very bright children will do well no matter what, right? Those very, very gifted children, and I'm blessed to have one of them, they're going to do well no matter what situation you put them in. It is the children who struggle. It is the children who don't have that gift that need our intervention and need a community-wide intervention. And that intervention has to be comprehensive and coordinated so that the same thing that their parents are saying is the same thing the after-school program is saying, the same thing the church is saying, the same thing the council is saying, the same thing their teachers are saying. We know how to do this, but it will not be done this way. And so I will not be here to raise that argument. And for those who think that council should not be involved with education, I ask them to read the Home Rule Charter. And it does say we should be involved. And second of all, I have them to look at the academic success of these kids. We have schools in our city where there are no children proficient. Think about that for a minute. We have schools where in the whole school, no kid is proficient at any school at any level. That does not happen. You have to work hard for that to happen, right? And the pandemic certainly has made it worse, but we do not have a comprehensive plan, coordinated plan between the city and the school board to intervene in the behalf of these kids. And there's no reason we don't have it. It is only because of the diverse interest of the adults that we don't put the interests of these kids primary. And so I want to at least say that. That has been my belief. I on purpose say very little about the school board. I say very little about the superintendent on purpose because I respect their elected office, but the results of the children, including my nieces and nephews, my children are now graduated, but my nieces and nephews are still in the system, and they come home not being able to read, and not being able to do math, and not being grade appropriate. And we can do better. I have publicly, privately sent messages to the school board, to the superintendent, saying that this should be a priority. Although they smile at me and say, Rev, we know you're right, those plans never come to fruition because, again, putting the best interests of the kids at first is not the priority of those who are leading this effort. I will stand by that, and perhaps after I leave council, I'll be even more, I will not be in elected office, so I'll be liberated to make to make these comments as strongly as I feel them.
I might join you, Rev. I said to somebody, they don't know what's going to happen when you, Councilman Cross, and I all step off of here. They'll wish that we were back on council so they can shut us up a little bit. Councilwoman Warwick.
Just in reference to your comments, there was an interesting article this morning about how well the Department of Defense schools, as sort of one of our kind of quasi like a national school district, public school district, how well the children in those schools do, far better than in, sort of the public schools at large. And I lived in Germany for 11 years, and my husband worked for the military, so I'm familiar, somewhat, not with the schools, our kids were little at the time, but just with sort of the culture of the military as it exists overseas and on base. And one thing that always has struck me is the level playing field that the military provides, right? So no matter who you are, no matter where you come from, whatever your educational, economic, socioeconomic position in life, when you enter the military, everyone's on an equal playing field. You have access to education, you have access to healthcare, you have access to job training, you have opportunity when you leave the military to then go into sort of the private contracting world, right? So, and now, as we're seeing, and it sort of hadn't really occurred to me at the time, but now we're seeing you also have access to high quality education for your children. And the unfortunate thing in this country is that in order to get all of those things, unlike in the country of Germany where we were living, where all of the citizens have those things, right, just all of the time, you only get that here in the United States if you sign up to put your body on the line, in our military. So I think that is not something that we can handle here in council. As to sort of I'll be interested to be briefed today on the PPS plan, and I'm not going to comment on the school. I don't know enough about it. My kids do go to public school. We're happy in our school, but I know that there are issues elsewhere. But what I do want to say, in addition to what Councilman Burgess said, is that the numbers are declining in our public school, and there are so many parents, and I can say from, in sort of the, there are so many parents who have so much to say about the state of public schools, including parents on the school board themselves. So many parents sort of in the liberal sphere in Pittsburgh, but they don't send their kids to public school. You have to send your kid. If you aren't engaging in the school and sending your kids to the school, and then commenting and criticizing and disparaging the school, strong PTAs, strong PTOs are at the heart of our strongest schools. So send your kids to the public school, engage in the school. I'm not saying that's the be all and end all. And I understand that oftentimes that is sort of a sacrifice that we have to make. I mean, I had it myself at one point. My daughter was doing very poorly in the public school and wasn't getting the support she needed. And we did, and I will say, and we went to a charter school for a couple of years, so she was able to catch up and whatnot. So, but as families, these are decisions that we all have to make. But, it is key, like that in order for our public schools to thrive, we need to be engaged in our public schools. So I know that's not for everybody, and that might ruffle a few feathers, but I think it's worth saying. So
Thank you. Councilwoman Strasburg?
Thank you, Madam President. I want to shift gears, and I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge the recent global events. They've had a profound and chilling impact on so many people in the communities that I represent, and then, of course, many of my colleagues, constituents, and people around the world. So I wanted to say that the horrific terrorist attacks that Hamas launched against innocent Israeli citizens, and, of course, nationals of other countries who found themselves tragically caught up in the chaos, have left our Jewish community and their allies shaken and disturbed. Foreign affairs, of course, are outside of the standard duties on council, but when faraway events inflict this level of trauma on people in our neighborhoods, I do believe they become our concerns and our responsibility to address. Whenever a targeted attack on Jewish people, individual or group, verbal or physical, deadly or not, it makes those in our Jewish community fear for their own safety. And given the extensive history of discrimination, genocide, and more, the threat of anti-Semitic violence always lurks around the corner. And of course, our neighbors in our city still grapple with the consequences of the Pittsburgh synagogue shooting, and it amplifies the pain of hearing about this weekend's killings in Israel. There's no place for terrorism in our world against any nation or any group of human beings, and it's our responsibility to firmly and unequivocally condemn such attacks, as well as provide the support for those who feel their effects from half a world away. I know I'm here, and I hope my colleagues are here to provide whatever assistance we can in this time, and I pray for those impacted. Thank you. Thank you,
Councilwoman Warwick.
Yeah, I just thank you so much for saying that, Councilwoman. I really appreciate it. Just for some context, the other night at the JCC, I think you were there as well, one of the speakers came up and asked the crowd, but by the way, and it was packed, it was standing room only, and
600 people.
It was at like 600 people, yeah. Just to sort of, at very last minute notice, right? So just to show sort of the impact on the community. But one of the speakers asked folks to raise their hand who had loved ones who were going to be called up to serve in the Israel. And the number of hands that went up, I mean, it was really mind-blowing. So this is a global conflict that has been going on since 1917, right? And much of it is obviously outside of our control here at City Council, and it's a complicated issue with many sides and many perspectives, and I think that we need to find a way, just here in our communities, as you said, with our neighbors, to understand that we don't all have to agree about something, to have a little grace for the fear and the anxiety and pain and suffering that a particular event like this is causing for our neighbors. So that's what I would ask, as you scroll your Twitter feed and go to various events and by all means, right? We all stand up for the things that we believe in, but to have a little grace and understanding for everyone else as well. Thanks.
Councilman Coghill.
Yes. Thank you, Councilwoman Strasburger, for stressing your emotions on that. And know that I stand in solidarity with Israel. And I'm glad to see our elected officials have come out and spoken on their behalf as well. The world has changed, from this horrific event. I believe, the consequences are yet to be seen. But certainly this world has changed from that. And I hope I know this country will back our most precious ally in the region. And we cannot stand for that. And something's going to have to be done. It's not going to be pretty, but, I stand with the people of Israel. So thank you again, Councilwoman, for bringing that up. The other thing I wanted to talk to is touch base on the schools, as Reverend Burgess was talking about. I continue to say that my number one deterrent for young families to move into my district, to promote, I feel like a real estate agent many times, is our public school system, okay? I agree with you, Councilwoman Warwick. Yes, if you're going to live in the city of Pittsburgh and you're going to, condemn the Pittsburgh public schools, you should send your child there, and then you should know firsthand at least what you're talking about. But I will say, as a Pittsburgh public graduate, our SAT scores might not have been as high as some of our private school, children that went to private school and charter schools in the area, but I do believe that we had a special education going through the city of Pittsburgh public schools in the way of, we got communities thrown together, the Hill District and Beachview and Brookline and Hazelwood, all thrown together, and we learned about other people and exactly what their challenges are. So that's an education I take with me everywhere I go in life, and you really can't put a price tag on it. So Pittsburgh Public Schools has its challenges. We all know that. I would love to have a bigger role in it. I know that we're kind of not welcome in that capacity at this point, but I'd like to take you up on that, Reverend Burgess, about the charter and seeing exactly what our roles are defined as. So with that, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Warwick?
I do, just to add on the, of course, being in District 5 and having such a large Jewish population in the district, that is sort of where my focus goes. But I do also want to acknowledge that the incidents of this past weekend also are profoundly impacting Palestinian residents, and they, and in Gaza and the West Bank as well as here. So all those same fears, all those same concerns, right? It's a very personal issue. So I just wanted to acknowledge those folks as well.
Thank you. Anything else from members? So I'm going to respond to a couple things, but I do want to say that yesterday I received a phone call from Yaron Zober, who used to work for Mayor Ravenstall, and he asked if we would turn the lights on the city-county building in blue and white in support of Israel. And so I asked right away, and immediately City Park Special Events responded, and so that was done. That was done yesterday at his request. I want to thank him for bringing that to my attention. But I'm also going to say, as much as we definitely stand for Israel, there are people in the Middle Eastern people in this United States and across the world that actually also stand with Israel and actually also feel that what happened was absolutely, not okay, and have most normal people don't want to see anybody innocent suffering or see anyone hurt. So I would say it was even more unique for me, a Middle Eastern woman saying to please turn on the lights in support of Israel for the city-county building. And I want to thank you, Rowan, for giving me that, from that idea and that suggestion. But I do want to say about the schools, Reverend Burgess, the more that we talk about the schools, the more frustrated I get. I was so extremely involved in the schools. I worked for the school district. My kids went to Pittsburgh public schools. They went to Catholic schools. They went everywhere trying to find the right schools in the city of Pittsburgh, which was always a challenge. But I will say I actually wrote the parent community engagement policy for Pittsburgh Public Schools with a few other people, including Kim Salnetra's husband and Kim in my office. But we wrote that policy, and it hadn't been written since 1979, and the policy was as big as this agenda. It was pretty thin, and it basically said you shall not smoke in the building, that kind of stuff, but never told people how to get involved and what to do and how to advocate for your kids. But I want to say one of the mayors that I think did an amazing job, and I didn't always agree with him about a lot of stuff, but Tom Murphy jumped in when it came to Pittsburgh Public Schools, and he put together a parent group and showed parents how to advocate. It later became funded by foundations, which then became a whole nother set of rules and guidelines and restrictions and things that they had to do, and it became A+ schools. But I think that Tom Murphy and Sal Odine, I believe, was involved in that. I think that they really, and then they also started the community enrichment programs back then, where kids had a safe place to be every day. And we've brought this up before, that we think that, you know, our kids need a safe place and they need help in our schools. But I think with everything, we tend to pit people one against the other. I remember when I worked for Pittsburgh Public Schools, and then later worked for Wireless Neighborhoods, I had a meeting. They were going to put in an accelerated learning academy. I went to a meeting in Squirrel Hill, and they said, we're going to get stuck with it because the people in Hill don't want it, and they're black, and they're going to fight, and they're loud, and that's what they said. I go up to the Hill District, and the people said, we're going to get stuck with that school because the people in Squirrel Hill are rich, and they're white, and they're going to fight, and we're going to, and I thought they're saying the same thing. They don't want that school. So I brought everyone together. And when they came together, they fought that school and won. That school didn't open in either of their areas. But it shows what can happen when people come together. A lot of people don't want people coming together. And so I just want to say that I think that that's an example of what we should be doing here now, is bringing people together. But everybody's so worried about who's getting credit, what their agenda is, who's funding what, who's getting the contracts, whose jobs are coming. And the truth is, there's room for both charter schools and public schools to do really well in the city of Pittsburgh and in the state of Pennsylvania. We need some funding formulas changed, and we need some people to sit down together at the table, but every time we try to do that, somebody objects to it. And it's usually somebody who feels like their power is going to be usurped in some way. And instead of saying, okay, whatever's best for the kids, and best for the city of Pittsburgh, that's what we're going to do. But that's what we're elected to do, to bring people together and to work through things and to work through some of these issues and concerns. So I was going to say, if there's ever a time where people want to sit down, I'm happy to sit back, I'm happy to be a part of it, I'm happy to do whatever I can do to help our schools thrive and our kids doing amazingly well in the city of Pittsburgh, regardless of what school they attend. With that said, can I have a motion to excuse any absent members, approve the minutes, and adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.